Radio Namaste is brought to you by your host, the blue-collar goddess, Sarah Nash, and a small crew of guest personalities determined to amuse, entertain, and occasionally astonish you. And now, Radio Namaste, a different brand of enlightenment streaming live across this galaxy and probably a few more.
Greetings, Earthlings. This is Sarah Nash as your hostess, and you're listening to Radio Namaste on the OMTimes Radio Network, bringing you, as always, a very different brand of enlightenment. Today's live broadcast is coming to you from the high desert in California, the United States of America. We're minutes from the entrance to the incredible Joshua Tree National Park, and we've posted a video on our Facebook about our Earth Day adventures yesterday. R&R. We're calling it R&R, which is, like rest and relaxation. But R&R, a.k.a. Radio Namaste Roadshow, is the hashtag you're going to want to use when you retweet the video. And you will. But don't watch it right now because our show, this one, is gearing up to be an excellent one. And by the way, the first one to hit me up on our Twitter at Radio Namaste with hashtag Blue Collar Goddess gets the opportunity to be in the drawing for a free 1-hour Skype session. I'm going to put all those love notes in a hat. Zen Master Ted will snag one out, and Motorized Millie will announce the winner on next week's broadcast when she joins me as my guest host. We do that at the end of every month, by the way. So hashtag that. Hashtag Blue Collar Goddess to at Radio Namaste. That's Nahamaste. That's Namaste with an H, and get in the hat. By the way, if you're listening in live on the most advanced mobile player on the planet, you already know that you don't have to download an app to get live streaming access to this conscious community called OMTimes Radio. Hey, you're going to want to check out the archives for past shows at the OMTimes Podbean portal or on namastewithanh.com in the show archive section. And while you're at it, check out the Gifted Psychics on the OMTimes Advisors portal. I'm there too. So right now, though, I'm with today's guest, Dorit Brauer, and she is the owner of the successful holistic medicine business, Live Your Best Life. In 2013, she founded the Brauer Institute for Holistic Medicine, and she teaches the only 300-hour professional holistic reflexology certification program in the state of Pennsylvania. And then there's her work with Systemic Solutions. That's about your family constellation. It's a spiritually based soul work. And really what it does is it allows you to connect to your roots and reveals like the hidden dynamics in your family of origin. And for me, that was really important because I was adopted and I didn't have any ties anywhere. But I met Dorit at the annual Labyrinth gathering in New Mexico a few years ago, and she was really a rare event for me because I don't seek out people. I really don't. I saw her, and I decided that I had to have dinner with her, so I invited her to come have dinner with Peter and I, or Zen Master Ted, who's right here. Wave to everybody because they can't see you. Say something. They can't see you. They can't see you. Anyway, so I asked her to tell me everything, and then we hung out the next day. We went to this like great big labyrinth thing all over her, and anyways, the rest is history. So let's make some more history. Hi, Dorit.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Hi, Peter. And it's great to be here.
Yeah, it is great to be here. It's great to be there, too. No, this is my first, actually, I'm not at home. I'm in Joshua Tree. So I'm sort of like white knuckling it here because I'm doing this. I don't have all my studio stuff with me. So this is like you're part of our first roadshow, darling.
So I feel really very honored. Thank you.
Well, and you're always about road shows because your book was amazing. It really was, and it was about your cross-country motorcycle adventure. It was 7,430 miles. Were you afraid?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I would not have done it if I would have been afraid. But, since the publication of the book in 2012, a lot of people asked me, weren't you afraid? But my philosophy about life is really like the urgency of living. If I would have any type of fear, it would be to not have lived enough, to not have lived my dreams or fulfilled my desires and aspirations. So you always calculate like what's the worst thing that can possibly happen, and you weigh like what your options are. So for me, riding a motorcycle, being on the road by myself and having all these adventures, that's just true living. And the purpose of the book, Girls Don't Ride Motorbikes, which you so beautifully renamed in some of your advertisements, Good Girls Don't Ride Motorbikes. So it's really about living a full life, and you cannot please everybody, so you just have to do your thing. And for me, it's really, there's no choice. Like, there is a goal, there's a dream, and you just go out and do it. And of course, the title of my book, Girls Don't Ride Motorbikes, comes from the mantra of my youth. As you know, I grew up on a dairy farm in Germany's Lower Rhine Valley. My dad was super strict, and when I was a teenager, I had all these fantastic dreams of riding a motorcycle really fast. And of course, in Europe or in Germany, I grew up with the German Autobahn, so I love speed.
Oh, say that again. Autobahn?
Autobahn.
Well, we Americans out here, we're just like the Autobahn. But we do have a very large global audience, so I probably sound very silly to them, but that's so romantic.
So, well, I have a few more German words for you. I had these great dreams of riding a motorcycle, and I would tell my dreams at the breakfast table with my family. And of course, when you grow up on a farm, we all had breakfast together as a family, which was really great.
That's very weird.
Very close connection. And my dad would always jam his fist on the table as soon as I mentioned motorcycles and said, Mädchen fahren kein Motorrad. Girls don't ride motorbikes. So, of course, I had to do, overcome these boundaries that I received through my family and go out into the world and do everything I was forbidden to do. And now at nearly 50, my adventure still continues. And it's a great journey. So my business is called Live Your Best Life. And that's really the purpose of the work that I do, is to get people into a place where they can just embrace life wholeheartedly, where they can look at what's going on and embrace their past, embrace their families, just say yes, because what really matters is the present moment and our intention of where we are going. And it's important not to hold on to the past. And that's also to bring our conversation back to the systemic work that was the experience that you had when we met in Taos, New Mexico in 2011 for the Labyrinths Society Conference.
You know, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, but I'm also busting up. I can't hear myself, and Zen Master Ted we're really trying to save our bandwidth. But everybody, I have to tell you, the most amazing storm is happening here in Joshua Tree, California, in the high desert. I swear to you, it is raining and it is thundering and it is lightning. Can you hear that?
No,
you can't. Oh, that's awesome. I love my microphone and my headphones. I actually did bring those with me. But this is hysterical because, you know, I'm going to actually get a global satellite picture. This is unheard of. Like, it doesn't rain in the high desert, okay?
So obviously, Sarah, we are moving some energy here because before our conversation now that we have, we did a little meditation where we connected heart to heart and just sent light to each other and had the intention to keep this light growing exponentially and really inspire everybody who listens and everyone who tunes in the best possible way. Because everything in the world is vibration, and we just make the choice of what we want. And it takes the exact same amount of energy to be either miserable and negative or to be positive and be happy. It's a cultivation of thoughts, and you constantly need to focus on that. So in essence, it's a 24/7 dedication of really focusing of where you are going. But the more you practice that, and the longer you are on the spiritual path, the easier it unfolds, and it really becomes second nature. So it's basically about retraining our conditioning. But also, interestingly enough, since you are having the huge thunderstorm where you are, it's, you know, maybe clearing the air. It's just like when we walked labyrinths together. Everything is a metaphor for life. So outside world is a reflection of the inside world. So there's definitely some great movement happening.
We really connected over labyrinths too. And World Labyrinth Day is coming up on May 2nd. And I can't, you know, you have to come to my house. You have to come to, everybody's invited to my house on World Labyrinth Day, by the way. If everybody wants to show up, that's fine. But you have to, you know, BYOB, okay? Bring your own books. Bring your own babies. Bring your own boys. Yeah, the labyrinth is within each one of us. But I have to tell you, Dorit, a lot of people are not going to, they're going to hear your voice, and you're very steady and you're very beautiful, and they don't through your voice, because you have such a steady voice, they're not going to see the light and the love behind it when the minute I saw you. And Zen Master Ted will be the witness to this. I do not chase after people. I could care less. Like, I'm people, fucking people, whatever. I don't care. I saw you and I went, this person has to become my friend. I adore this woman. Peter, Zen Master Ted, Peter, whatever, he looked at me and he said, nah, you? I don't do that. And this is a testament to your inner beauty, your inner light, and your inner strength. I admire you. And I know we have like a minute to break. Actually, Zen Master Ted is still holding up all the signs. But tell us real quickly, why did you write your book?
Well, the idea of the book was to, first of all, chronicle my own spiritual journey, but in essence, really to inspire people to embark on their spiritual journey. But because the question in life really is, who am I? Where do I come from? Where do I go? What is the purpose in life? And people have different points in their life where they begin to ask those questions. And some people, unfortunately, never. But those are the essential questions to embark on a spiritual journey. And for me, it happened very early on. When I was 15, my best friend died of cancer. We were childhood friends and we grew up on neighboring farms. We both had horses. And so the moment she was gone, for me, all these questions began to emerge. And I did not receive the answers, neither from religion, neither from my family. So I began, in a way, my own search, first of all, through reading books like Raymond A. Moody, Life After Death, or Elizabeth Kübler-Ross, who writes about the 5 stages of dying, and also books about reincarnation, and so forth. So that's how my journey started. And around the same time, I also kind of got into the concept of meditation, also completely self-taught through books by Edgar Cayce, for example. And I just started practicing these exercises. And then later on my journey, I actually received the formal education.
All right, hold on to that. And we're going to come
to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Live with medium Lisa Phoenix, Mediumship Messages and Musings, explores mediumship and all things metaphysical. Lisa Phoenix invites you to reach above and beyond your everyday experiences, to explore new dimensions in the spirit world. She will do live readings to connect callers to their loved ones in spirit, shares engaging stories and teachings from her own personal experience, and will have intriguing conversations with other mediums, spiritual teachers, and healers to help you understand the metaphysical world so you can connect to these forces in your day-to-day life. Join your host on this magical and metaphysical journey into the world of spirit every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Welcome to The Gathering Around My Kitchen Table on Equilarium FM, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join my guests as we integrate spirituality into everyday reality with vibrant conversations, inspired interviews, and my latest channeled guidance to inspire and brighten your day. I'm Claire Johnson, and together we'll be raising vibrations across the nations.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
So we were talking about your book writing process, and you were telling us why you wrote the book. You're fluent in 3 languages: German, English, and Hebrew. Is it difficult to write a book in English?
Well, I started studying English at age 11, 5th grade in Germany, and it's mandatory. And I always loved languages. So, and I'm always reading, studying, and improving, which in essence is like the whole purpose of life, to work on self-improvement at all times. So for me, it includes obviously languages, because I absolutely love languages. And what's to me so fascinating is like different expressions in different languages. And in the book writing process, it's really this idea, you want to say something in one language, like you have the perfect sentence in one language, and then you cannot translate it. There's absolutely no way to translate it. And so you have to find different words. But it's a huge cultural thing. It makes you realize how different people's perception of reality is. How it's based on these cultural experiences, which sometimes are really difficult to explain. And it's kind of like having a broader worldview. So it's really, for me, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I can spend a lot of time by myself in front of my computer, just like looking up words and getting inspired. So it's a really great process.
What is your favorite language?
I love them all.
You don't get to choose all the ice cream flavors. Which one's your favorite? And don't say vanilla.
Well, it would be great if there would be a universal language that we all could speak, which actually transcends like the physical language. Because if you really look at communication, there are so many things that cannot even be expressed or translated. Or if you also just look at the process of communication, it's completely based on our emotional states. And that's, for example, why you should never say things when you're like really angry, like be careful and reflect. And also if you're the receiver of like a statement and you're in a certain emotional state, you will never be able to see like the true color of what the other person tries to convey to you, because it's translated through your ability to receive, through your perception of reality, if that makes sense. So if you talk about the favorite language, of course, I love all the languages that I speak because I'm very passionate about them. But then we would want to add an additional language, which really is the non-verbal communication and this aspect of communicating through our energies. And that's what I teach in my meditation practice, and also what I teach with systemic family constellation. And in a way, try to bring, of course, across in my book through showing these different varieties of how a human being can actually experience life and how different and unique we all are. But the question is, where are we connecting? And the connection is always through our heart and through like the emotion of love, of peace, of clarity. Because if you look at what's going on in the world right now, and if you look at what everybody wishes for, it's completely, everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to feel loved. Everybody wants to be, enjoying life, being in the flow. But then we look at the reality, or even if we watch the news, and it's for the majority of people on this planet, it doesn't seem to be happening. So the question is like, what do we need to do in order to get into this new state of existence where we all can live together in peace and harmony?
Well, agreed. However, we have that issue of perception. What is enough for one person is not enough for another. And I always talk about Gary Chapman and his book, The 5 Languages of Love. But when we learn to speak the language of love that the person that we're with is fluent in, we begin to appreciate, what their perception is, and we get to honor that. And as an empath, I'm an extraordinary empath. So you can't lie to me. And it's very, very difficult to lie to me, because people their mouths are moving. The words they are saying are not matching what is happening inside of them. Like I can literally see the chakras inside of a person light up. I can see if they're speaking from their groin, if they're speaking from their heart, if they're speaking from a higher source. And so when I look at you, I have to say you're one of the very few people I've ever met who is directly lined up. All your lights are of equal color. and you're incredibly steady. And I think one of the reasons that I champion you the way I do and I honor you the way I do is because you are almost exact opposite of me. Like, I feel like I'm a bunch of confetti and glitter, and you're just like this long, steady shower of golden, beautiful, steady sunlight. And so I guess I strive to be more grounded and centered as you are. Now, I want to talk about that because we're talking about a woman, you, who went on this solo cross-country motorcycle adventure, and had these incredible experiences, and yet, you know, you were the same when I met you the first time. You were the same when I met you further on in Hudson, Wisconsin. And then when we reconnected recently, you're just like, hi. There's something honorable about that. So let's talk about how you maintain your sense of center.
Well, that's a great question. And it's interesting that it's coming from you, because I feel the same way about you, like you feel about me. So we definitely do have this special connection. And if you say you want to be more like me, it's hilarious to me, because for me, like talking to you and knowing you, you are so deliciously outrageous. For me, as a German, I'm like more, I think everything through. I plan things. If I say something, I want to be sure that I say it right. And, talking about like being fluent in 3 languages and knowing words in other languages too. It's like, okay, I really have to think about how I'm going to express myself now. And you just put your energy out there. But at the same time, you're like, when I'm around you, I'm happy. And that's like our connection. Because I think what's connecting us is like we both strive for living an authentic life. And that's really this idea of being in the moment. And it sounds like so easy to say, but if people really begin to observe of where they are, at any given moment, most of us are not in the present moment. And that's where life really happens. And that's also where we create change in the present moment if we're totally connected to it. And that means to be in your body, to be connected to your 5 senses. And for me, on my personal journey, it means to really strive to be happy. Because again, everybody wants to be happy. And I think that's also like, if we look at the bigger picture of what's going on in our society and in the world, like everybody strives to be happy. But then you look at the discrepancy between the value system that is presented to us by society and what people are striving for in the outside world. And that's monetary values, career values that don't make people happy. Actually, a lot of my clientele is working in corporate careers, and there's a lot of frustration and suffering, and also a lot of disrespect for the individual. So the value system, what is presented to us through advertisements, through the society, is not what makes people happy. Because what makes people happy, and research has shown that, it's human connections. So it's like hanging out with your best friends and having a good time, like you and I, for example, right now. So I hope the listeners will feel our energy as we are having this conversation. Or like being together with your family, raising your children, like having fun, and it's all based on being together with the people you love.
Exactly. However, media presents a picture that a lot of people strive for. And it's very interesting that we're talking about this too, because this morning I sent my daughter off a very quick note, because I saw it on a different OMTimes radio show host, Sylvia Henderson. She's an excellent, oh my gosh, you'd love her show. You should listen to her show. But anyways, she posted a picture that said, remember what screws us up most in life is the picture in our head of how it's supposed to be. And I sat back and I thought to myself, that has been my number one issue, and we're going to talk about my adoption. Yes. Because I didn't have that Oprah Winfrey thing, okay? Like, when I reconnected with my biological family, they pretty much told me to go fuck myself. And it was very, very painful. It was like, I'm an incredible human being, and I had this delightful image in my head. So what screws us up most, I think, are the images that we have in our heads. And then when the reality comes out, and it's very difficult to celebrate that reality, because so expectations sometimes will develop what I call the hemorrhoids in our life, those things that we step on and the splinters in our eyes and the ouchies when we actually we see the huge forest, but then suddenly we have to take care of the individual trees. I think media does us a huge disservice when we forget that we actually have to, continue chopping the wood and carrying the water. So, celebrating how it is what I honor about you, because you are literally one of the most Zen people I've ever met. Like, you're just like, you shrug it. You're like, oh yeah, okay, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. I mean, it's just like, I loved walking the labyrinth with you because you'd reach out your hand and we would touch fingertips. And that's, that was such a Zen thing. It was like a very beautiful energy exchange of like, hey, here we are on the path. Let's just celebrate this moment.
Yeah. Well, of course. What else would we do? But you see, the sense of urgency of living truly comes from the fact that, number one, my best childhood friend died very early on. So that's when I started asking questions about life. But also I lived in Tel Aviv, Israel for 8.5 years. I was in Tel Aviv in 1991, January 17th, when the Scud missiles were hitting. So if you're in a situation like that, or if you live in a place with terrorism, you do not take anything for granted because life can be over any minute. And so I feel there's this sense within me that I most definitely live every day. And that's just like, okay, I'm here. What's my purpose? What am I going to do? And I'm going to do it now because there's no time to waste. Like, why wait? Because it can be over tomorrow. And I just had a conversation I taught a meditation class last night. And it's really like, again, what's your biggest fear? And for me, it's always like, well, worst case scenario, I die, but we all are going to die anyhow. And the question is, well, what did I do with the time I had here on Earth? Did I waste it away and, just enjoyed watching TV and not evolving, or did I do something? And
maybe for some people that is their thing. I saw this movie, Jackie Brown, where this chick is laying on this couch and she's like, Jackie Brown's like, you need to do something with your life. But we'll talk about that when we get back from this break.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapist for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Hodling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Simone Milasas would like you to know that business can be fun, which is why she wrote the book, Joy of Business. What if you could have the joy of business rather than the stress and struggle? Most of the time, the only thing stopping you from a thriving business is you. In the Joy of Business book, Simone gives you access consciousness tools and pragmatic ways to get out of your own way and to create the business, life, and living you know is possible and beyond what this reality says is achievable. Business is joy. It's creation. It's generative. It can be the adventure of living. You can purchase your copy of the book through Amazon or Joy of Business website, www.accessjoyofbusiness.com.
Imagine receiving healing, vibration-raising energy as you listen to the radio, energy that flows effortlessly to you. Imagine exploring all things metaphysical, sharing in an ongoing adventure. Join me, Karen Smoot, along with my co-hosts Lisa Victorson and Wendy Weber, for Immersion into Source, every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Om Radio.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
I'm really excited to listen to that show. That on the very last ad that they were talking about immersion into consciousness with the 3 different hosts. We're getting some really great new hosts on OMTimes, and that's just so exciting. But anyways, let's talk about us because we're more exciting right now, right? What are the fundamentals of the meditation you teach? Because we're talking about how people can choose to be happy and how they can not choose. Most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. But how do you teach somebody to do that?
Well, the whole idea, I feel, it needs to be simple. If things are too complicated, it's very hard to integrate into your everyday life, and then it's hard for it to become like a healthy habit. So the way I teach my meditation classes, it's first of all in a laying position. My students bring mats and blankets and they lay down, get very comfortable. I play quartz crystal singing boards, which is a tool for sound healing, induces the alpha wave level activity of the brain, and creates a very relaxing, stress reducing experience.
Stop right there. Can we buy those? I keep thinking to myself, you should have a CD. You do, though, don't you?
I do have CDs available, and people can contact me through my website. But I do have a free video available on YouTube, and you can also find that through my website. It's doritbrauer.com, and it's 10 minutes. I called it a world healing meditation video because the idea is really whichever vibration we resonate within, we resonate it out into the world. And we'll start with a smile and with happy memories and just fill ourselves with them, and then we radiate that energy out into the world. So everybody's invited to check it out. 10-minute video, and the more of us make this part of our everyday life, it really changes consciousness.
Do you watch your own video?
Every once in a while.
Really? I always wonder about that. It's like, because every once in a while I go back and I check out my videos and stuff, and it's like, it's like Johnny Depp doesn't watch any of his movies, and I'm like, I'd be like, I don't know if I'd like ever watch a movie that I was in or anything. So that's interesting because you're like one of the few meditation experts I can ask. Do you watch your own meditation videos?
It's so funny because I get commentary from people, and then I watch it if I get a commentary about something that I say or a word that I say funny, because I obviously speak with an accent, but for me,
no.
I don't hear it. I feel I talk like everybody else. So like, I don't hear myself. So I think I talk like you, Sarah. But then people point out, well, your accent is so interesting, or so cute, or it's so funny how you say
it's beautiful.
Or
if they ever say cute to you, tell them to go celebrate martini alone.
Okay. But anyhow, I do, because I also want to look at my work, and I'm about to produce more videos. I want to make more stuff actually available for free online, because I feel consciousness, you cannot put a price tag on it. And the more people tap into it, the more it's going to create change.
You should host a show at OMTimes.
Okay, yeah.
No, seriously, you should. I mean, this would be an excellent platform for you, and it would be like global. We'll talk about that later. I can't believe I'm trying to sell you.
You're so funny. But Sarah, I have a question for you, because you told me before the show in today's show you have a lot of listeners. We have a lot of listeners in Russia and Ukraine, but there was something that got lost in translation. And when you talked about your ancestral line, you said, well, you didn't have the Oprah experience, and I had no idea what that meant. Does it mean like happy ending, or was she?
Okay.
I didn't know what that meant.
Good way to bring it back to the main event here, because I really do want to talk about the systemic solutions, because I was skeptical. And again, I am the world's best, most skeptical psychic. I truly am. So the Oprah Winfrey, you know who Oprah Winfrey is, of course. Well, every once in a while on her wonderful television show, she will reunite people who have been separated through adoption or divorce or any number of situations, but typically it's adoption. And, sometimes that Oprah Winfrey experience is a metaphor for, two people who've been separated, and a mother and a child, a mother who's given up a child for adoption because of certain circumstances or situations or religion or whatever. Maybe she couldn't afford to care for the child, or any number of things. they will become reunited and they'll have this loving, warm embrace. And suddenly, the child is embraced by a family that she belongs to by blood. There is something to be said, even though, we get to choose our family through our friends. There is something very beautiful about the blood connection. I'm all about DNA. So when I went to 23, I should have written this down. I knew it. I knew I was forgetting something. I had my DNA tested before I found out who my biological family was, and it comes out that I'm part of a very odd group of immigrants. They did the Jesus loop. It's the Da Vinci Code. They started from the Middle East. They went to Turkey. They went to France. They went to Scotland. They came back. They did this big loop, and they actually ended up in Morocco, which is one of the reasons why I was asking you about Morocco. You went to Casablanca. You lucky woman, you.
Yes.
So anyways, when we did the systemic solutions, wait a minute. Okay, I'm ADD as fuck, so excuse me. So the Oprah Winfrey experience is usually a beautiful experience where it ends in love and light and everybody's happy and everybody's in love and yay, happy ending. Okay, see, I didn't get that. Although I was able to have a discussion with one family member who was just delightful and loving and kind, and I had one discussion and that was it. And I was incredibly grateful for that, mostly because I needed to know some medical history too. So let
me explain the work to your listeners, and then I would love to hear your experience at the workshop, because what I feel it's so beautiful and amazing, and just another proof how intuition, how our inner knowing and the spiritual awareness eventually manifests in the physical realm and creates these amazing things. So the systemic ancestral work, I came across it and I was very curious because I do not know a lot about my family of origin. I know like 3 generations back. So I grew up on a dairy farm in Germany's Lower Rhine Valley. And I have a Jewish name. My name is Dorit, but I grew up as a Catholic girl in Germany. And only when I was 21, I went backpacking by myself in Brazil for 10 weeks. And I traveled with a lot of Israelis who at that time had just finished their military service. So they are fantastic backpackers. So I traveled with a lot of Israelis and everybody was surprised about my name. They're like, "Are you Israeli? Are you Jewish?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm Catholic. I grew up on a dairy farm in Germany." And that was the first time I learned that I had a Hebrew name. So I became very curious, like, what's the origin of my name? And my mom had absolutely no idea what inspired her to give me this name. The only thing she remembered was before I was born, they had a name for me if I would have been a boy, but at that time they didn't know. And my aunt suggested to call me Judas. And then my mom said, well, we cannot call her Judas because it's a Jewish name. So she calls me Dorit, which is modern day Israeli typical Jewish name. So
I'm going to stop you there. Is it Judith, Judith,
yes,
or Judas? Because there's that bit of that accent in there.
I know, Judas.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So anyhow, I was very curious about that. And then, of course, I lived in Tel Aviv, Israel for 8.5 years, and I feel very connected to the culture. I study Kabbalah, and I really feel that's where my soul belongs. Mm-hmm. And I always knew about the work of the German psychotherapist Bert Hellinger, who looks at transgenerational healing and also the transgenerational connection to find answers for the mysteries in our own life. And so I attended a workshop that actually took place here in the US in Pittsburgh, and we did a constellation on the ancestors, and we went like up to 7 generations back. So the way it looks like, it's like a role play, and people who don't know you will stand in the roles of your ancestors and pick up on the information that's in the field. And it's very hard to explain because it sounds extremely abstract, but if you are in the field of consciousness, you notice things within you that you can clearly discern are not your own thought patterns, your own programming, even your own facial expressions. I've seen people in constellations where their facial expression completely changes, and they pick up on the information that's in the field of consciousness, which is also very interesting if we just look at perception of reality. Like Western or the scientific view does not explain everything that occurs. So this ancestral work and also the labyrinth work can be explained by these fields of consciousness. That brings us back to the British biologist Rupert Sheldrake, who determined the terminology of morphogenetic fields. So these are fields of consciousness that transcend time and space, and they work in families, they work in sacred sites, they work with labyrinths, for example.
But it's all about energy, frequency, and vibration. Here we go again. Yay, people. Talk about steady as we go. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, look at it. The smallest component of everything that exists, it's the atom, and that's 99.9% empty space.
Yes.
I mean, so what is that filled with? And that's where we can make that choice. So, I mean, even everybody who sits and listens, you sit on your chair, you touch your table, you can touch your computer screen. It feels solid. But it's not. I mean, in essence, it's empty space. And again, once you begin to ask those questions, that's where you embark onto your spiritual path, if you can wrap your mind around it. So
absolutely. Well, Carl Sagan did. I mean, mathematics has proven that that there are at least 10 different dimensions, okay? And this is proof. And I know we're going to go, Zen Master Ted is throwing up a sign to me that we're going to go to break in about a minute. But so let's go into how you lay out the constellation, and then we'll come back and talk about my experience.
Yes. So important to understand is life came to us through our ancestors. So if we go like one generation, it's our parents. 2 generations, it's 4 ancestors. If we go back 7 generations, we have 128 ancestors. 10 generations, 1,024. So just imagine this huge number of people standing behind you who give you the force of life. And it doesn't matter if we were adopted, if we were given away, if trauma happened in our families. What's most essential and important is like how we take in this gift of life. And that's in a way like how we can, if we would use the analogy of an engine. So everybody's born, and I'll get back to that after the break.
Okay, all right. Everybody's born. I love you. I love you so much.
Connecting you with the best of the
Sounded like the
minds
tape
in the
just went.
world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness and action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids.
Dorit, that last woman needs to interview you because you do constellation work because you are a rising star.
Thank you, honey.
All right, we're coming up here to the end, so I want you to continue. I'm not even going to say a word. Go ahead.
Okay, so we'll do it quickly. So as you're born into this life, you're born with 100% potential. That's your gift of life, 100% possibilities. But then things happen. For example, a child loses a father, or the father leaves the family. And if there's blame involved and the concept of like, well, he's not a good person, he left the family, then the child is only running on 50% of the engine. And then he grows up and things start happening, and the mom kind of does a few things that to the judgment of the child do not seem appropriate. Then the engine goes down to, let's say, 25%. So a lot of people go through life and they run on a very low flame because they're busy blaming their family, whereas the greatest gift they've received is the gift of life. And that comes to us through our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, and all the generations through whom we receive the gift of life. And just to get back to the example of 10 generations back, we have like 1,024 people that had to come together. That's like our force. So in the process of the ancestral work, we connect to that. And my task as a facilitator is bring people back to that place where their engine runs 100%, so that they can look at their family, at their origin, and say, okay, this is what happened, but it's all okay because you gave me the greatest gift, the gift of life. So it's really about getting into this place of bowing to your parents, bowing to your ancestors, to become humble. And then through that, open your heart and receive the gift of life. And that is all the difference, to overcome this judgment of how life came to you. And so that's the basis of this work that I do. And it's very beautiful and encouraging to see how it really changes people's life. Because basically, it's about changing your perception of how you view things and just get a different worldview. And anything with regards to our ancestors, it's completely based upon love. I mean, they want for life to go on. They do not want us to suffer. So the best way for us to honor our ancestors, to honor their sufferings, to honor their life experiences. If you look wherever you are, like in the American country, look what your ancestors had to go through to come here, to settle in the new world. And so it's so big. So instead of making things very small and allowing people to blame their parents for their misery in their life, like we just want to blow it wide open and make life very big and look at the magnitude, at the beauty of the love of how many people had to come together for us actually to be sitting here and do what we are doing. And then there's really no choice but to live our best lives, because we want to carry on and we want to honor where we came from. And that's what we do, simply by saying, yes, thank you for this gift. It's the greatest gift. And yeah, let's flow with it.
I am so grateful for that. In fact, last night, Peter and I, Zen Master Ted and I were talking. I'm just going to call him Peter ZMT. I visited my great-grandmother's gravesite here in 29 Palms. It appears that, I mean, it's odd because I've been coming to Joshua Tree in Cathedral City that's a different place in Palm Springs, but Yucca Valley and Joshua Tree since I was a small child. And I would run around the Dingley May Institute, oddly enough. There's a very long story and we don't have time about that. We need to do another show. Yay. We always have to do another show. So I would run around the Dingley May Institute. I would sit within the portals, in Landers. And, even when I lived in Palm Springs and I had my world down there, I would come up to Joshua Tree to rejuvenate myself. When I was pregnant with my first child, I came here. Well, it turns out that my biological mother's family were very prominent people, and some of them still are here in Joshua Tree. I had no idea. And this is one of my power places. And to come to find out that the Copper Mountain College was we have I have family connections with that. The Bell Center there. I'm not very comfortable putting names out there because I don't want to hurt any of these people, because ultimately at the end of the day, the whole point being is that I am incredibly grateful to the woman who decided to, she had the resources and the ability and the opportunity, I'm sure, to terminate the pregnancy, and she did not. As a result of that, I get to turn around and heal so many more people. I get to live a very beautiful life, and I have an incredibly interesting family. Now, here's what's really interesting. When we did the family constellation for me, Dorit, because I'm a clairvoyant, and because I'm an intuitive, and because I'm a visionary, I was actually able to see out in the crowd. I was actually, it was almost like a holographic image was becoming projected. And I saw a very tall, beautiful black man. He was dressed in a Moroccan outfit. He had a long white robe on with it like gold. It was embroidered, and one of those like little pill hats. Mm-hmm. And I saw this man and this woman, and she was white, and she was wearing one of those French, it was like, I call them like fan collars, and I could like literally see these two people. And out of all the people, interestingly enough, out of all the people in the lineup, these two people were madly in love. This tall, beautiful, and he was black. I mean, he wasn't just mocha or coffee colored or caramel colored. This gentleman was black. He was ebony, and he was beautiful, and he was one of my great grandfathers. And then so when I did my biological my research, and I got my genetic history back, it comes to find out that we were part of I have 23% of a bloodline of Moroccan, of the Moroccan Jews. And they, Peter, I should have written this stuff down. I meant to write it down last night. I will put it up on my website, because we're part of the modern, it's called the, I was talking to you about it last night, Peter. Do you remember what it was? It's a project. It's the Global Family Project, or something like that. When you have a certain amount of genetic material that is, as oddly enough, pure as mine, then they are trying to track the groups of people and how they went around the world. But it's all this stuff is actually available online. But it was so interesting, because then when I was actually able to have the one conversation with the one person in my family who is a biological family member, she confirmed that as well. Everything that I saw, even before I knew anything, and my first experience with you in the systemic solutions, it is all 100% verified and valid.
That's beautiful.
And I never felt so loved in my life.
Yes. Well, and so here's the great news. Actually, we are all related, you and I and Peter and every one of your listeners, because there is a point in history where there's an identical ancestor point. And that's around 5,000 years ago. And there you could find your ancestors in every village on the planet. So today we are the descendants of like these original ancestors. Because what happens when you do the systemic work, when I was going back to the 10th generation, like we just keep on doubling the generations, but there's a point around 1000, the year 1000, where there were not enough people on planet Earth, because it would be like 2 trillion ancestors, but they're just like 600 million ancestors. So that is that identical ancestor point. And that brings us really to this interesting place of oneness. And my sense is really that we live in times where we need to realize the interconnectedness of everything.
It's the 7 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, and the mutual responsibility. You know, imagine how the world would look like if you would treat every single human being you encounter as your family member.
Well, there, I could say so many things about that. But Dorit, we are gearing up to the end of our show now. I cannot believe it's been an hour. I'm going to have you come back. And this has just been delightful. I feel like I'm just sitting here talking to one of but you're my sister. Let's be sisters, okay?
Yes.
I choose you. That means you have to take Millicent too. Millicent's my sister. I chose hers. So then we all have to adopt each other.
Yes, we're one big family. And
all right. So DoritBrauer.com. Spell your last name. It's Brauer, correct?
Perfect. Yes.
It's DoritBrauer.com. DoritBrauer.com. Dorit, it has been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to reconnect with you. I'm going to have to wrap this show up. Let's do this again, darling.
Thank you so much.
Major, major gratitude to you. And everybody needs to read her book. Go read that book. I'm going to write a review for you, by the way, too.
Thank you.
And gratitude to our sponsor, Alchemy Stones, from alchemystone.com. That's no S. Alchemy Stone, not stones. alchemystone.com for the wonderful selection of incredible art to gift to the recipients of the Namaste Award. If any of our listeners are looking for a really awesome gift to give your mom for Mother's Day, don't look any further. Get your mom a rock. These are really awesome rocks. Mention Radio Namaste and you're going to get free shipping in the continental United States. And all of our overseas listeners everywhere else is going to get a 15% discount. Next week's show, I'm bringing on Motorized Millie. Yes. She is going to announce the winner of the 1 hour psychic session with me. Then we're going to hand out the Namaste Award, and then the greatly anticipated Father Mulcahy citation. And boy, howdy, do we got a good one this week, or this month. Don't forget to send in your questions, because that's where we're going to do the Ask the Blue Collar Goddess. And any questions that you have for Motorized Millie, hit me up with those, because she'll be more than happy to talk about that. And we've got a few things we're going to talk about anyways. But, hey, thanks for tuning in with us, and we're going to see you next week. Over and out. This is the Blue Collar Goddess. See you soon. Bye.